In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Yesterday we discussed verse number 83 in chapter 2 of the Quran, the chapter of the cow, Surah Al-Baqarah. And again, this verse, like previous verses, reminded the Israelites of the covenants of Allah that He had taken upon them. And the following verses will mention that that covenant as well was broken. You can see that the verse started وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. And remember when we took the covenant from the children of Israel. Here Allah repeated their name, because the previous verses did not do that. The previous verses, for instance, Allah would say, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ, or وَإِذْ قَتَلْتُمْ نَفْسًا فَادَّرَأْتُمْ فِيهَا, without mentioning their name. But because there was a digression in the verses before, the verses digressed and talked about بَلَى مَنْ كسب سيئة وأحاطت به خطيئته فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون. Allah is talking about general principles that relate to everybody, not only to the Israelites. And the last verse before this one was talking about the people going to heaven. So it is very appropriate here that when Allah goes back to talk about the covenants that were imposed upon them, and they're breaking the covenants, is for Allah to mention that He's talking about these specific people again. Because the verse prior to that was talking about somebody who's totally different, talking about the people who are going to heaven and will abide therein forever. That is why scholars say that this verse again started with mentioning their name, with أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. Here we see also that this verse, when Allah talked about the parents, He says وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. يعني, the meaning is that وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ أَحْسِنُوا إِحْسَانًا. Do the best that you could towards the parents. And He didn't limit it to doing or just saying good, but to doing everything that you can in your effort towards the parents. But when He came in to talk about general people, He says وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. To regular people around you, everybody else in the community, Allah says, say to them what is gentle and nice and courteous and so on. But when He came to the parents, He didn't limit it to, He didn't say قُولُوا, He says وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, so as to encompass all forms of goodness that you can offer to the parents. But for people around you, sometimes all you could do is just give them nice words, nice advice, and sometimes you're not able to accommodate other people. For instance, physically or financially. They want your help physically, or they want some financial help. Sometimes you can't. That's why Allah says in Surah Al-Isra, وَإِمَّا تُعْرِضَنَّ عَنْهُ وَابْتِغَاءَ رَحْمَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكَ تَرْجُوهَا فَقُلْ لَهُمْ قَوْلًا مَيْسُورًا. He says, your relatives, if you are not able to help them financially, قُلْ لَهُمْ قَوْلًا مَيْسُورًا. At least say good words towards them. Say to them, by the will of Allah, inshallah, in the future I will help you, forgive me, and so on. And you can say, Allah, even the poor person, Allah says, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذًى. If a poor person comes to you and you cannot help them, also you say nice words to them. And Allah says that the nice words are better than somebody giving the poor person and then humiliating them or reminding them of the favors later on. قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ. Maghfiratun means to forgive them, because sometimes the person who's asking you can be very persistent, sometimes even rude, and not respecting sometimes your privacy, and so on. So Allah says you still have to be patient and forgive their faults, and control yourself and restrain and say the best words that you can. Allah says وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فلا تنهر. وأما السائل فلا تنهر. The person who's asking you, never be rude towards them. You never be rude towards them, and so on. And that's why Allah said, وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا, because sometimes the very least that you can do towards the general people around you who are not related to you, the very least that you can do is say good words, because sometimes you just cannot really help them physically or financially. The following verse talks about another covenant. So the first covenant we talked about yesterday, that Allah took upon the children of Israel and upon humanity in general. Every message given to humanity had these commandments: the commandment to worship only Allah, and to be nice and kind to the parents, and to be generous as well towards the orphans and people in need, and to say goodness and be courteous towards the people, and to establish prayer, and to perform zakah, sadaqah, charity. All these things are mentioned in the first covenant. The second covenant, Allah says, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ لَا تَسْفِكُونَ دِمَاءَكُمْ وَلَا تُخْرِجُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ مِنْ دِيَارِكُمْ ثُمَّ أَقْرَرْتُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَشْهَدُونَ. The meaning, verse number 84, we made a covenant with you, do not shed one another's blood, nor drive one another from your homes. You pledged this as you yourselves bore witness. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ, and remember again, we took the covenant. وَإِذْ, the word إِذْ means remember. أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ, we made the covenant. لَا تَسْفِكُونَ دِمَاءَكُمْ, do not shed. Here he translated it as do not shed one another's blood. The actual wording in Arabic says لَا تَسْفِكُونَ دِمَاءَكُمْ, do not shed your own blood. The actual wording says that. Do not shed your own blood. He translated it, and all the translation is the same, because this is what is intended. The intended meaning is that do not shed each other's blood. So why did Allah says do not shed your own blood? How does that? What's the significance of wording it that way, rather than saying do not shed each other's blood?
Because you belong to the same league.
Exactly, to show that humanity is all the same. All human beings are the same. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة. Allah created you from the same soul. You are all the same. There should not be any difference. That's why racism and these tribal biases that sometimes say, oh, this tribe doesn't deserve to live, or this nation does not deserve to live. So Allah is reminding people that you are all the same. Your blood is all the same. All your blood is equal. No blood is superior to any other blood. Okay, all blood is inviolable. That's one meaning. And the other thing is that to give them the sense. How would you like it if somebody shed your own blood? You follow? Do not shed your own blood, because you should put yourself in the position of the person that who is a victim. Why would you attack somebody or shed someone's blood? You could have been in that position. Would you like it? This is like when Allah says, لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. Do not consume your own wealth unlawfully. But he's saying your own wealth. So you cannot, if it's your own wealth, you cannot consume it unlawfully. Correct? You understand? But here Allah is saying, do not consume each other's wealth unlawfully. You follow? This is also in Surah Baqarah. تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. He called it أموالكم, your own wealth, so as to remind you that you should, before you, what should prevent you from transgressing against another human being is to remember that, put yourself in his own shoes. Would you like it or not? You follow? That is the meaning. And that's the same thing you can see in Surah An-Nur. فَسَلِّمُوا عَلَى أَنفُسِكُمْ تَحِيَّةً مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُبَارَكَةً طَيِّبَةً فَإِذَا دَخَلْتُمْ بُيُوتًا فَسَلِّمُوا عَلى أَنفُسِكُمْ تَحِيَّةً مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُبَارَكَةً طَيِّبَةً. When you enter a house, give salam. He said عَلَى أَنفُسِكُمْ, to yourself. You don't enter the house, say Assalamu alaikum, talking to yourself, right? We don't do that. You give salam to the people. But Allah is reminding us that you should treat other people just like you would like to be treated. And that's in the hadith. وَأَنْ يَأْتِيَ إِلَى النَّاسِ مَا يُحِبُّ أَنْ يُؤْتَى إِلَيْهِ. You should only treat the people in the same manner that you would like to be treated. And that's actually a general principle in all religions. You find, if you ask Christians, they'll say that this principle is in their religion as well, possibly in the Bible. But Allah told us this is a covenant that was taken from that was given to the Israelites as well. Do not shed one another's blood. ولا تخرجون أنفسكم من دياركم. لا تقتلون ولا تخرجون أنفسكم من دياركم. And then he says also من دياركم, from your own homes. You follow? And ولا تخرجون أنفسكم من دياركم. And do not expel or drive your own self from your own home. Imagine this, subhanallah. For the same meaning which I explained just a moment ago. ولا تخرجون أنفسكم من دياركم, from your own home, so that you can feel the grief and the pain of others if this is if such a crime is exacted upon them, so as to refrain from that. Because once you put yourself in the shoes of other people, you will not harm them, because you yourself would not like something like this to be done to you. Now, ولا تخرجون أنفسكم من دياركم ثم أقررتم. Then and he says you pledged this, you accepted this pledge and this covenant. وأنتم تشهدون. The word وأنتم تشهدون, he says, and you yourself bore witness. Here Allah is basically saying to the people listening, the Israelites listening right now, you know that this is a covenant taken upon you, upon your ancestors in the book given through the prophets sent to you. ثم أقررتم وأنتم تشهدون. You know that this is in your book. You know, so it's reminding them this is in their book. We will stop here and we'll continue, inshallah. We'll take one verse at a time.